Hey, you out of your mind? Get back before that thing eats somebody.
It seems friendly.
Well, it's not.
We won't get any closer.
You see that fence? That's mine. Everything this side of that mountain, all the way over to here, mine too. You're trespassing.
这位先生说，
相信吗？
they don't believe you.
What's she saying?
It's wrong for one man to own all this. He says you should share it with all the people.
Yeah. This is America. We don't share land here.
Every day I wake, I make my mind up. I'ma be the one, be the truth, be the way. Yeah. Every day I wake, I make my mind up. Gotta keep my mind on the because they only telling their side of the story. Out here telling lies like they on Maury. Them poor rich kids get their money on phone it. But down here in the hood, yeah, we know Forex. We growing up, yeah. We got the good. Good of them assets, good of my bag. Get rid of cash before the whole market crash. A news flash, just a blast from the past. We on the smash.
There we go. Peace to the party. It's your homeboy back again with the news. And I appreciate y'all for tapping in. Boy, they've been on my head in these comments about these last few videos, but we love it. And just understand it's an open invitation for anybody who want to come debate these issues. So got to get that out the way before we even get started. So look, if you've seen the topic for the day, we're trying to figure out what's going on with China buying all this farmland. Because they've been going crazy over these last few years. And you've seen a couple people hinting to it and talking about the situation, but I don't know if the people really know what's really going on out here. So we got to go and break this down, man. So it's interesting. A couple of days ago, Dr. Phil done made a resurgence, man. He done made a resurgence and he doing his thing. It sounds like he's trying to do some investigative journalism. You know, I'm not really sure, but I was watching this video. He had a brother come on there. And he was breaking down his situation with the farmland. And he had a lot of interesting things to say. So I want to take it over there. Let's go in here with Dr. Phil and Buddy got to say. And then we're going to come down, break it up, and, do what we always do. So let me get this pulled up and we're going to go from there, y'all.
They're coming into the area. They're now controlling the buying stations, the grain elevators, and they're controlling the food.
In red is where they're making a lot of these purchases. Some of these are close to military installations.
If you were going to be thinking in the future about making a belligerent move with your military, you'd stockpile some food.
Are they getting ready for war?
China's really quietly stealing the agriculture sector in the United States. Will we be able to stay on the land and continue to farm? Farmers depend on good farm ground to make it or break it. Before China started coming into this area, I could buy decent farm ground for $2,500 to $3,000 an acre. Now it's $15,000, $20,000. I simply can't compete with that. The land is everything to me. That's what my daddy told me growing up. This land is everything. My forefathers were slaves on the Boyd plantation. After the Civil War, a lot of black families stayed on these plantations, and you either became two things: the sharecropper or the ability to purchase land. My great-grandfather bought 117 acres from the Boyd plantation, and I still have some of those original acres today. And now I'm faced with China coming into the area and taking those freedoms away by purchasing the land, by buying the companies. I'm really at their liberty. They're now controlling the buying stations, the grain elevators, and they're controlling the food. Stealing our seed technology. So this is our food security. This is national security. For me to lose the farm would be losing myself. This is who I am.
John, I have to first say that is an amazing story.
Thank you.
I mean, you talk about a family history and deciding to do what you wanted to do.
Yes, so my grandfather taught us how important land ownership was. Every step you take, every step you make requires land ownership, and never, never, never sell the farm. And that's when my father didn't sell it, and he passed it on to me. And hopefully, if I can hold on, I'll be able to pass those original acres on to my children as well.
And now that's being threatened.
That is correct. And now China's come in, Dr. Phil, buying land at these auctions and running land prices, through the roof. And people need to understand farmers need good farm ground in order to compete. It's not like a job where you go out and you work 20 years and you get a raise. Farmers rely on good farm ground to expand their farming operation so that they can increase their revenue. And when you have the opportunity, Dr. Phil, to buy adjoining land that joins your farm or in that surrounding area where you farm at, farmers try to jump on that opportunity. Yeah.
So you would have adjoining land that you could have purchased in the past for, say, $3,500 an acre. They're coming now paying $15,000, $20,000.
$20,000 an acre. And guess what that does to property taxes for a poor farming families just barely holding on and paying your annual taxes. It runs the taxes through the roof. And what's troubling to me is the federal government isn't doing anything about it.
Now, when these auctions happen, who represents them at those auctions?
Sometimes, Dr. Phil, be the little white guy with the ball cap that's bidding for them. And they set up these dummy corporations and fractional corporations. And then when the deed is recorded, it's owned by China. They're really savvy about how they moved into this country and infiltrated the agriculture sector in the United States.
All right, so they buy up everything around you. Then you get all of this grain and you go sell it. And where you sell it is owned by who now?
It's owned by China, Smithfield Foods. And that's what people don't understand. They say, well, can't you just go sell somewhere else? Dr. Phil, farmers sell within 1 hour's driving distance to their farming operations. And I'm no different. It's about harvest time, time sensitive. You go out, you harvest, you get a truckload and you sell it, you come back and you repeat that process until you finish.
And so you can't expand your farm and you're selling to a Chinese buyer. If they decide to stop buying,
I'll be in trouble. China's bought land right here to my left. They're buying companies like Smithfield Foods. And that blue truck and trailer is what I drive to Smithfield Foods to haul soybeans, corn, and wheat on, to sell to a company that's owned by China. And this is a cry and plea to corporate America. It's a cry and plea to politicians to take action and put some laws in place to stop China from selling this stuff here that I'm standing on it. Stop allowing them to buy precious soil.
So I got questions. I got questions for the people. For one, I want to see and really gauge, do people understand that America feeds the world? This is one of our biggest exports is the food that is grown in this country. So why would it make sense from a country perspective, if you're the leader, if you're in charge of things, to allow people with foreign interests to come in here and be a part of our food supply system? And you know what I mean? Because they're more than just buying land. They're starting to own the processing of the food that has to do with the agriculture, knowing that the biggest amount of money that we make from a lot of these countries is through our food exports. So why would we, from a financial aspect, what sense do that make to allow this to happen and allow China or any country? Because can't none of us go over there right now and start buying up no land. We can't go over there to China and do the same thing that's going on over here. So how is this a thing, right? Because there's a difference, getting a little bit of money, setting up some businesses, doing what you do at a small level, that's cool. But to be able to be a part of our infrastructure in that way, especially when they keep telling us we about to be at war with these people, some don't make sense, man. So, you know, I'm just a homeboy reporting on the news, but we got to get to a consensus here because some don't make sense to me. So for those of y'all, you know, we're going to meet y'all where y'all at. I know a lot of y'all like to talk greasy, but we trying to truly have a conversation and educate people who may not know, right? So I want to go, I'm sure y'all done heard before where they talking about a communist society, people being communist, the Chinese Communist Party. Back in the day, they had the communism come up and be a big thing. But I don't think a lot of folks truly understand what that really even means. So first off, we're going to go break down the definition. Y'all know what we do over here. I just want to make sure we on the same page. So give me a second to pull this up on screen 3. So for those of y'all who don't know, what is a communist society? I'm going to tie this all together here in a second. But in Marxist thought, now Marxist thought, if you're not familiar with Karl Marx, that's definitely something from the left. Just being unbiased, is facts is the facts, right? From the left, meaning the Democratic Party. But anyway, it says in Marxist thought, a communist society or the communist system is the type of society and economic system postulated to emerge from technological advances in the productive forces representing the ultimate goal of the political ideology of communism. A communist society is characterized by common ownership of the means of production with free access to the articles of consumption, and is classless, stateless, and moneyless, implying the end of the exploitation of labor. Now, here go the problem with that. Because you got some folks from certain sides saying, oh, man, well, everything needs to be free. Everything needs to be, you know what I'm saying, no accounting for, we shouldn't have a capitalist society. But see, the problem with this is when you go the communist route, that means that the government is tied into any and everything that you do, any business that's created, the land. That's not good for anybody. It really don't make sense. That's not the principles that America was founded upon, right? It just is what it is. No matter what side of the fence you sit on, that's not how we was rocking over here. Right. So China, though, is known to participate in these type of practices. And the Democratic Party has been long alleged of playing for total government control. So you notice they said the technology advances. So what's going on right now with the AI, y'all? AI replacing a lot of jobs, even coming in with the farming. Mechanized farming is what took out a lot of our ancestors from their farms being profitable. Right. So it's been a long-term play to remove individuals off the land. But this started within our own country doing that for various different reasons. But now they're letting others participate in doing this same thing. Now, some don't sound right about that to me, y'all. That sound like a communist society, right? Threatening to take away the weapons, right? You got the pandemic that happened that showed them that they could take away certain rights and liberties by just scaring us. You know, a lot of people think this stuff is conspiracy, but we're going to get down to some of the reasoning behind, because I can't say whether we about to go to no war or not. But what I can tell you is on the economic side, it's already a war going on between us and China, and we're going to get down to it and prove it. But before we do that, I wanted y'all to catch this second part of that Dr. Phil video, right? Because they starting to get to some interesting points. So they got somebody that come through from the Council of Foreign Relations. And for those of you who ain't hip, they're the ones in charge of striking up these trade deals, anything that's going on with the relation of foreign countries. That one's a common sense one. They got something to do with that. So I want to bring him on, let him talk real quick, and then we're going to come back.
Absolutely horrible. I am not an expert on geopolitics and certainly not on geoeconomics, but I've got a really good friend who damn sure is, and his name is Kyle Bass. He is the founder and chief investment officer of Heyman Capital Management. He is a life member of the Council on Foreign Relations, and he has testified as an expert witness before Congress and has lectured on global economics, national security, geopolitics, and the architect of the Chinese financial system. He knows a thing or two about what we're talking about.
One thing we need to point out, they say, buddy, a lifelong member of the Council of Foreign Relations. The current president was a big dog with the Council of Foreign Relations. who also allegedly has some family dealings right now, specifically concerning China. Now, keep this in mind while y'all listening to this.
Pleasure to be here, Dr.
It's good to see you again.
Good to see you.
How's their economy doing right now?
I mean, I actually think it's the worst it's ever been. So you have, they have leverage in their economy. And we all remember the global financial crisis in 2008.
He's talking about China, not America.
We had about 1 times our GDP in our banking system. And if you include non-banks, it was 1.7 times. China is 3.5 times levered to a system that's only been at capitalism for about 20 years. They ascended the WTO in 2001. So imagine they've got like 20 plates spinning and all the plates are starting to fall.
WTO, World Trade Organization.
So they have a youth unemployment crisis where the youth of China, they admitted 21% of the youth doesn't have a job. And some Chinese scholars say that's as high as 46% today. They have a real estate crisis where they let real estate grow unabated, and that was the Chinese miracle, growing their GDP through real estate. Now it's gone the other way. They've got a banking crisis, and they've got a local government finance crisis. All of those things are happening simultaneously as we sit here today.
Why are they stockpiling so much grain?
If you imported 40% of your food, and you were going to be thinking in the future about making a belligerent move with your military, you'd stockpile some food.
Now, let's be clear here. Even if war was not going to be involved, if you import 40% of your food, just on a business standpoint alone, if you could cut that number down by cutting the middleman out, right, it would make sense. So that's why I say that we ain't trying to scare nobody and to say that it is a possible war brewing, but I won't lie to you. Financially, it is already happening and within technology, but we're going to get to that in a second, but just keep track of what he's saying now.
And the interesting thing about the stockpile is, as we entered COVID at the end of 2019, early 2020, their largest food stockpiles were near Shanghai. They didn't touch their food stockpiles when people were quite literally locked in their apartments for months on end. So if you're not going to access your food stockpile when people are starving, when will you access your food stockpile?
Are they getting ready for war?
I mean, my view is yes. My view is if you listen to Xi Jinping since 2017, not the media stories, go read his speeches. And if you read what he says, he's been telling you since 2017 that his life's goal, his life's mission is the reunification of the great Chinese race, which means reunifying Taiwan forcibly or peacefully, whichever one they'll go with. If you look at what they've done in their legal system, if you look at on the mainland, if you look at what they're building on the mainland, every single arrow points to moving to war. I know we don't want this. I don't want it. You don't want it. The world definitely doesn't need a war like that. But it just, if you just look at it with the facts that sit on the page, I say the writing's been on the Great Wall for a long period of time. We just have to go look at it.
Well, Dr. Phil, based on everything he's saying, why are we in the United States letting this continue for China to come and purchase land?
Well, they are purchasing a lot of land. And we've got a map here that shows counties in states with Chinese-owned land. A lot of this, sadly, is strategically purchased. And after the break, we're going to take a look at this. You're not going to like what you're getting ready to hear. So you don't want to go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Hey, so look, you see what they was talking about, but we're going to dig a little bit deeper. So we done pulled up the actual U.S. and a China trade war from a China briefing website. We're gonna hit a couple of the highlights before we get up out of here, because I want y'all to understand what's really going on. But for those of y'all who you new to the channel, appreciate y'all coming. On Sundays, 9 p.m. Eastern, we typically have a history build where we go in depth to a lot of these topics, right? So I'm gonna hit a little commercial break real quick, and then we're gonna come back to get some of those China trade war timeline points, and then we're gonna keep on moving, y'all.
Nigga, it's the top 5 lister. Double let's drift her. Separate, sipping, and you know I came with it if she cute with it.
Yeah, all right, so we right back at it. So like I said, man, we had a China Briefing website. It's breaking down the U.S. and China trade wars, the timeline, and we're going to break down a couple differences between the current administration. Damn, I said the stream cut off. Hold on, check. Can y'all hear me? We're going to keep rocking. Hopefully everything's straight. But yeah, we're going to break down the U.S.-China trade war, the timeline, right? So first starting off, we got us here with in July 2018. Damn, hold on.